You remember something with total clarity, like it happened just yesterday. You're confident about a logo, a quote, a product, a detail. Then one day you see it again, and it's completely wrong. You feel a jolt of confusion, like reality just shifted slightly. You double-check, expecting to be right, but everything says you're wrong. Even stranger, others around you remember it exactly the same way. This isn't just personal confusion, it's a collective false memory. A memory shared by thousands, even millions of people worldwide. This strange phenomenon is known as the Mandela Effect. It began when people claimed Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 80s. They remembered news broadcasts, public mourning, even televised funerals. But Mandela lived, became president, and died in 2013. It wasn't one or two people misremembering, it was thousands. Different countries, different backgrounds, all recalling the same event. That never happened. That's what makes the Mandela Effect so unsettling. It's not just forgetting, it's remembering together and still being wrong. And it's not limited to Mandela. That was just the beginning. Let's explore some of the most famous Mandela Effect examples. You probably know the Berenstain Bears, or do you remember them differently? Most people insist it was spelled Berenstein, with an E, not an A. But according to every book and record, it's always been Berenstain. People swear they saw the other version, on covers, in libraries, at home. They can even picture the logo, the font, and how it looked. Another one, Darth Vader's iconic line in Star Wars. Millions remember him saying, "Luke, I am your father." But the actual line is, "No, I am your father." The incorrect quote is more famous than the real one. Then there's the Monopoly Man. Monocle, right? Except he never had a monocle, not in any version. Yet so many people can clearly visualize him with one. They even confuse him with the Planters peanut mascot, who does have one. So what's going on? Is this just bad memory? Psychology offers one explanation: confabulation, the brain filling in gaps. When memory fades, the mind reconstructs it using logic and expectations. Add pop culture and shared assumptions, and patterns of false memory emerge. But that still doesn't explain everything. Why would so many people make the same exact mistakes? Why do they remember the same incorrect version? Not random, but identical. This is where alternative theories enter the picture. Some believe the Mandela Effect is evidence of parallel realities, that somehow our consciousness slips between timelines without us realizing it. In one version of reality, Mandela died in prison. In another, he lived and led South Africa to democracy. The same applies to countless other examples. In one timeline, Pikachu has a black tip on his tail. In this one, he doesn't, and apparently never did. It sounds like science fiction, but some scientists don't dismiss it entirely. The many worlds interpretation of quantum physics says every possibility splits reality. Each decision, action, or variation creates a new universe instantly, which means infinite timelines are happening all at once right now. Could it be that fragments of those timelines bleed into each other? That our memories come from different versions of ourselves in alternate realities? And if that's the case, how would we even know? We trust our memories because they feel vivid and personal. They define our identity, our past, our understanding of the world. But neuroscience tells us something hard to accept. Memory is not a recording, it's a reconstruction. Every time you remember something, you're recreating it from fragments. Emotion, context, and expectation all reshape that memory unconsciously. The more you recall it, the more distorted it becomes. So maybe the Mandela Effect is just a side effect of this. A quirk of how the brain rewrites its own history over time. But that theory doesn't fully explain the collective consistency of these false memories. Why so many people, across generations, misremember the same tiny details? It's not randomness, it's repetition. It's pattern. It's strangely synchronized confusion. And that raises a more unsettling question. What if our memories aren't just fragile? What if they're programmable? Think about how culture shapes your perception of reality. Movies, ads, news, childhood books, they all install patterns in your brain. You think you remember reality, but you're remembering versions someone else created. And now, with algorithms feeding us constant information, what's real and what's reinforcement becomes harder to distinguish. Are we remembering, or are we being trained to remember? The Mandela Effect might be the symptom of something deeper, not a problem in the brain, but a crack in the system, a flaw in the matrix, or proof that there is a matrix. Some philosophers argue we live inside a simulation, one created by advanced beings or perhaps even our future selves. And small glitches, like shared false memories, are leftover bugs. A misrendered logo, a broken quote, a corrupted file in the program. These wouldn't be mistakes of biology, but of code. Others take a more spiritual angle. They say the Mandela Effect reflects a shift in collective consciousness, a sign that reality isn't fixed, but vibrational, layered, and responsive. And as we shift mentally and emotionally, so does the world we inhabit. Could that explain why memories seem to shift without explanation? Are we actually changing timelines through awareness, without even noticing? Or are we constantly being shifted by something else? If that's true, what are the rules? Can we control it? Influence it? Or are we just observers? What makes one version of reality more stable than another? And what happens when two realities overlap and collide? The strangest part is how deeply people feel about their memories. They're not just surprised, they're disturbed, even angry when contradicted. They feel like something was stolen or erased from existence. That intensity suggests the memory was real, at least to them. And in a quantum universe, maybe it was real, somewhere. So what does this mean for the nature of truth? If memory is unreliable and reality is malleable, what can we actually trust as objective? Are facts still facts if no one remembers them correctly? Are we living in a consensus reality held together by agreement? Or is the world far stranger than we ever imagined? What if reality is not a fixed timeline but a flowing river? One that forks, merges and loops, and we never notice the shift? What if your memories are postcards from those alternate streams? Traces of paths your consciousness once wandered, now slightly out of reach. The Mandela Effect challenges more than our memory. It challenges our confidence in what's solid, proven, and objective. It forces us to ask, is there one truth or many overlapping truths? Is reality a structure or an experience built moment by moment? If entire groups remember a version of reality that never happened, who's to say which version is true? Maybe all of them are, or maybe none of them ever were. And then there's this. If we can't rely on memory to define what's real, can we rely on perception? Or is even that a fragile illusion? The line between external truth and internal certainty becomes disturbingly thin. Reality, it seems, is not just out there, it's also inside us. And the Mandela Effect might be the moment those two realities collide. An echo, a residue, a flicker between timelines. A quiet sign that something beneath the surface is constantly shifting. So let me ask you this. Have you ever remembered something so clearly but no one else did? Have you ever felt like the world was slightly off? Like something changed, but you couldn't explain what or why? What if that feeling wasn't confusion, but recognition? What if you glimpsed a crack in the illusion and looked through? If the Mandela Effect is real, then so is the possibility that this reality isn't the only one, and that the truth you cling to may be no more solid than a dream. In the end, maybe the question isn't what's real. Maybe the question is, which version of reality have we landed in today? And will it still be the same tomorrow?